the lease bonus and the retained fraction, the number of years, those are all part of the negotiating process. Again, very important things in that lease, but not the only thing that you're going to want to negotiate. The clauses contained or not contained in a lease will affect your royalty payments. Here's an example of a lease clause that can bite you in the pocketbook, okay? And the important here is that you have signed a lease that says less a proportionate part of the compressing, dehydrating, transporting, and marketing, or otherwise making such gas or substances ready for sale or use, blah, blah, blah. Basically, this is what we call a post-production clause. And in this clause, if it's in your lease, you're allowing the company to take deductions after they take the product out of the ground. So, what does this mean? This means some cases in Pennsylvania where the royalty owners were getting thousands of dollars a month when the wells first started. And the companies went back and looked and said, oh, we have deduction clauses so we can take deductions, and over 90% of the royalty is being deducted. So they're losing money on this, all right? So you want a no deductions clause. You don't want this clause. So, and this is language you've got to live with from now on, okay? Once you sign it, you're stuck with it. There are clauses that can protect you. And in this description, in the event that the lessee pays a bonus amount greater than the amount paid to the lessor for oil and gas lease and description within 6 months, they're going to come back and offer you that. So basically, this is what's called a favored nations clause. And it says, I've signed a lease agreement with you, Mr. or Ms. Landman, and we're on good terms, and you agree that if in the next 6 months you sign up my neighbor for more than you've signed me up for, you're going to come back to me and give me the difference. That's a great clause to have. It really shows good faith on the part of the company or the landman as well. Here's another clause that can protect you. Commencement of a well, according to the terms of this lease, and it describes it here, that there's a well on location capable of reaching total depth by the end of the primary term of the lease, okay? And what that means is there are leases where it says that commencement of operations during the primary term. And what does commencement of operations mean? They might argue that they drove out there with a pickup truck and they threw post hole diggers over the fence and said, well, we've commenced operations. You don't want to argue that, okay? What you want is something like this that says, here's what establishing operations mean. And this clause is not necessarily necessary in some states because there are state laws that talk about who's responsible for payment and when that payment should be made, but it never hurts to have something like this inserted. And what this clause says basically is that if a third-party purchaser goes bankrupt and stops making the royalty payments, that the person that you signed the lease with, that operating company, is still responsible for paying you royalty. This actually occurred in Oklahoma about, I'm going to say 5 years ago. A company, a big crude oil purchaser in Oklahoma, went belly up. And thanks to the actions of the National Association of Royalty Owners years ago, there was a state law in place that said that royalty owners get paid no matter what. And for the most part, the companies were doing that anyway. And in some cases, what it meant was the royalty owners got first in line in the bankruptcy courts. So understand, this is a clause that takes all of that worry away from you. If you have this in your lease, it says, if they go belly up, I'm still going to get paid because the operator is going to have to pay me. Including all that fine print, negotiated agreement, your future royalty income depends. Understand, again, it is a serious, serious situation when you're signing an oil and gas lease, because as soon as production starts, it lasts, and the terms of that lease agreement last until the well stops producing. There are instances around the country now where wells have been producing for 80, 90 years, and the operation of that well is still based on the original lease agreement, and that you can't change that once you've signed that. That's the way the law is.